So my name is Dr.JoEllen Pederson, and I'm an assistant professor of sociology. I chose sociology because I wanted to make a difference in the world. So at the time, I was undecided. I was undecided for 2 years in college, or a year and a half. And they told me that I had to make a decision, that I had to choose a major. I was like up against the deadline. But for the first year and a half of college, I've been working with what they called at-risk youth at the middle school, and I loved it. I loved working with them. And I was really interested. We were getting funded through No Child Left Behind. I was interested, and we were working with the Boys and Girls Club. So I was interested in how all these pieces were working together to try and shape these young kids' lives. And I knew I loved that, and I didn't really love anything in college. And I went to sociology and I was like, this is what I've been looking for the whole time. And so that's where I stayed. So that's why I chose sociology. So I actually researched public policy, specifically welfare state policies. So I'm interested in why we adopt the programs that we adopt, how they compare cross-nationally, and what it means for the people who are involved in those programs. So that's what I studied. So in my Civitate classes, students are asked to summarize a lot of sociological literature. So we think critically about it, we think about the methodology, we think about the limitations of the studies, but it's really typically we're looking at one study at a time and we're just trying to glean information from it. So can they pick out the research question or the thesis statement? Can they see how the authors answered that? Do they understand the methods? Even if they don't understand the statistical analysis, do they understand sort of how the researchers got from point A to point Z? In my upper level classes, I'm looking for more synthesis. So not just summary of articles, but really where do they overlap? How are theories being built on? Or how are theories being tested? How is that different? So I'm looking for more synthesis of information from my upper level students. So you'll either have a thesis statement or you'll have a research question. So I teach our research methods classes. And in that class, I teach students that, we follow sort of a very similar outline for every paper. So you've got your abstract, your introduction, your background section or your literature review, your data and methods section, your findings, your conclusion discussion, and then your references. So that when students learn that, it also helps them read sociological literature, I think, and write sociological literature. And then the other thing that I talk about in methods, that we write for our reader. So I know a whole lot about international welfare state policy, but if I can't convey that to someone who doesn't know anything about international welfare state policy, I'm not doing my job. So we want to be very detailed, and concise, because you're a student, you don't like reading 50 pages when they probably could have made the point in 20, right? So in sociology, we try to be, some of us try to be as concise as possible, but also very detailed, so that we're communicating to a wide audience, not just other people. But like I just said, we write for our reader. So we're writing for our reader. So I try to tell students not to write to me, right? Yeah, I know a lot about sociology, but I want you to write to somebody who doesn't. So I tell them, think about your roommate, think about your parents, how would you explain this to them? Because in sociology, we use a lot of words that we've made up, right? Which is super annoying. And then we make up other words that mean the same thing and use them interchangeably. I'm really big on making sure that students define the terms that they're using. I try to tell them to write down their operational and nominal definitions to words whenever they're using them. So I tell students I don't always want them to try and sound like the articles that we're reading. I want them to sound more like public service announcements that they've heard, if we're presenting information to a community partner, right? So we can get rid of some of the jargon and we can summarize things a little bit more. I do use Turnitin on Canvas, specifically for term papers, so big papers. That's when I use it most. And my intro level Civite class has 7 writing assignments that they're turning in this semester. So that's about 1 every 2 weeks. One of them's longer, towards the end of the semester. So I try to publish at least 2 articles a year. Now, since I've been at Longwood, those have shifted to more pedagogical papers. So they're still within sociology, although the last one I just published was in a stats ed journal. So I try to write constantly, and I actually really rely on students to help me do that. So I just published a paper with Janisha Watson, who's a senior now. But I have another student who has a paper underway. I have a student who actually graduated in May who's now in grad school, and we're still writing one of her papers. They keep me writing. So I do a lot of writing with students on projects that they're taking further than what they had in the classroom. I try to continue my own research agenda. Like I said, I try to get 2 publications a year. And then I've also found, as I've advanced in my career at Longwood, that I'm writing more for like assessment stuff, and we're thinking about adding a concentration, and so I'm writing things that aren't what I would consider sociological research, but that are important for like the functionings of the university. If I don't write consistently, I can tell. It's definitely a skill that you have to like constantly work. So with the pedagogy stuff, anytime I do something that's like interesting or that I can construct as being interesting, if it is or not, I'm like, oh, I should publish this because otherwise nobody will know that I'm doing it. Especially stuff that's working. So it's things that I'm like, actually this could be really, it's easy and it could be useful to other people teaching statistics in the sociology department, which is not an easy job. So it's stuff like that. But it's also, like I said, students who have ideas. I collected a lot of data from the community. But what does this answer in sociology? Like, what does this tell us about gender? What does this tell us about rural communities? What can I take out of this more broadly? And then I also try to continue with the same research agenda that I had in grad school. So I'm constantly thinking about what I can publish with public pensions or with Social Security and attitudes towards